Hey everybody, welcome to Did You Hear About This? I'm Bill.
I am Scott.
And it's Friday night, doing a rare Friday night show.
Yeah, sorry I'm late. Traffic around here hits different on a Friday.
The day after Halloween, everybody's got to come home from their Halloween parties doing the drive of shame.
Just coming down from the sugar high.
Yeah. Oh man, I saw some kids on some sugar highs yesterday.
And it's so fucking hot out here. Like, it was the hottest Halloween in the past 50 years, I read.
Really?
Yeah.
It felt great for me. I mean, it wasn't a cold, miserable fall PA night. It was a nice summer, almost like a summer night here.
Yeah, but a lot of these kids that are playing their costumes, or parents rather, that are playing their kids' costumes, I guess, are playing like, are you going to be warm enough? Like, oh, you better wear something that's warm. And now the kids are here like dying and falling over from heat stroke.
Oh, that's where I was. The kids were barely dressed.
Really?
Yeah.
Where were you at?
So I was in a small town, at Walmelsdorf.
Oh, yeah, up near my work.
Yep, where my friend John and Christy do a whole Halloween spread. I mean, he goes to Spirit Halloween. He goes to Facebook groups where they swap Halloween stuff. And he had robots, and his whole lawn is taken over. It is a museum.
Does he do like a home haunt where people go inside and he like haunts it up? Or is it just a display outside?
It's the outside display.
Okay.
If he takes this inside, he's not any longer just doing we're a house with decorations. He's now doing like an event.
It's a home haunt, yeah.
He'll have to get insurance. He'll have to get all kinds of things to make this
a lot
thing
of
work.
Bureaucracy, red tape.
Because yesterday, and I've done this about 5 times in a row now, going to his house. It's gotten bigger and bigger every year. But somehow yesterday is the biggest it ever became. So he's like, yeah, I put in a couple extra Facebook groups, and the fucker went viral. Like, people were showing up like it was like opening of a new Star Wars movie.
Is there any chance he can go to these same groups and say something about, did you hear about this, the podcast?
Maybe he could.
That would be fantastic.
He should be our promoter.
Yeah. Speaking of which, happy 2-year anniversary, sir.
Is it our 2-year anniversary?
One day last week, we hit 2 years since we've been doing this, yeah.
Interesting.
Then we published our first show October 23rd.
Don't go listen to those, everybody.
No, they're not good. Sound quality was terrible.
I always say to you, I wish we started this about 8 years ago when it was easier to get a podcast found. Because 2 years, you could be like the biggest thing on the internet.
Could you imagine how bad the sound would have been from 8 years ago?
Yeah.
I mean, 2 years ago, I was sitting in a closet with a laptop.
That's true. You were. That's what you were broadcasting out of.
Yeah.
I was sitting on a toilet bowl in the bathroom. No.
Well, we've grown.
Yeah. But it's like everything on my YouTube, everything in my Spotify is just constant podcasts.
Yeah.
We're not, 5 years ago, we would have been one in a sea of 1 million. Now we're one in a sea of 1 trillion. I mean, it is intense, the competition out there.
I have to imagine one of the side effects of the shelter-in-place orders during the pandemic was everybody has a fucking podcast now.
Yeah. And they're not great.
No, they're not any better than us.
They get more listens than us. And I'm like, how do I steal this audience?
I still think we're about as good as everybody else listening-wise. There's like the 1%. You have the Kelseys, and you have the Jason Batemans, and you have the people that have celebrity from other things that draw crowds from that. But yeah, they just know famous people. They have famous guests, I guess, but they're not any better content-wise than what we are, I don't think.
We're funnier.
If I don't say so myself. My mom says we're cool.
Yeah. Your mom says we're cool. To me too.
Yeah, she probably doesn't listen.
I know my parents don't.
But yeah, this has been fun. Doesn't feel like 2 years.
No, that's what I keep thinking in my head. Like, wow, that went really fast.
Yeah. Closing in on 100 episodes.
It's been good. We've had some growth spurts. We've had some shrinkage.
A lot of learning along the way, that's for sure. Certainly, because at first we weren't doing this every week. We were kind of sporadic with our release schedule, and I wasn't even editing, and everything fell back on you. But we did learn that, consistency is the key. Putting this out every Monday morning certainly gets some routine going. And hey, if I can be somebody's morning drive to work, cool. I'm cool with that.
Well, we know you guys out there, you're our age. You're not liking and subscribing. You're not doing all those things like all the young people are doing. So I always feel like an asshole going, hey, everybody, like and subscribe. Pester your friends. Tell them to listen.
Fucking hypocrite.
Like, that's how you grow. But
I know, but you don't do that. I don't do that.
No.
I will occasionally give a YouTube video a thumbs up. Occasionally.
Yeah.
Not often.
Not often. I know. It's just not in our nature.
And if I'm in my car, I'm sure as hell not like hitting that's a driving hazard.
It's true. It's true. Well, we're not going to ask you anymore to like and subscribe. But by not asking you, I'm going to see if that helps them like and subscribe.
It's reverse psychology of promotion.
That's right.
Let's see how it works.
Haven't tried it yet.
It's a bold plan, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off.
And right before we started filming here, we just did a little minute of video, and we're going to go back and edit some video, and we're going to try to see if video helps grow us on the YouTubes.
Yeah. Next evolution of growth is learning how to edit video.
I don't think there's anything after that.
The final frontier.
Holograms.
We're going to be the first hologram show. I tell people about the show. They're like, oh, are you streaming? Are you on social media promoting? I'm like, we're not doing any of that. None of that. We're just a podcast.
Can't stream. If we stream, we'd be canceled first episode. Some shit goes down behind the scenes here that is not for everybody.
What goes down behind what? That orgy over there in the corner?
No, not stuff like that. But, yeah, hot takes. Stories get cut.
Yeah.
Things go sideways. Often.
Every episode you're listening to, just know that a lot of shit was said that you didn't get to hear.
We did joke last episode that it seemed like a fast episode, but we went like an hour and 15, I think you said. And we joked that 45 minutes would be cut. I think we only cut 13 minutes.
We're tightening up.
Tightening it up.
Becoming professional broadcasters.
Getting tired of editing.
Well, I got a news story that talks a little bit more about what we were just talking about.
Okay.
So before we get into the news, we have a main segment. You're bringing something today. What are we talking about?
Yeah, I teased this last week. We have the 1855 Toronto Circus Riot. Yeah, this one's going to be pretty soundtrack heavy, I think. But before I get into the main segment, don't we have any mailbag or fuck-upperies or anything like that?
Yeah, we got a couple. We love the mailbags. We love the fuck-upperies. We're not offended by criticism at all. We love criticism because that's engagement. And that helps us rank better in the Spotifys and the YouTubes.
It's how you learn.
No, but in reality, sometimes we get things wrong. We like to correct those things. And Brother Steve, the corrector, first to be the guy to say, caught your mistake. So thank you, Steve. Steve has told us that it was not Albert Brooks who was with The Simpsons and at the beginning of the Twilight Zone movie.
No.
Remember I had said, because we were talking about the Twilight Zone movie last episode. And
the prologue.
The prologue, yeah. And I was like, what is it, Albert Brooks? And we finally figured out it was Albert Brooks. And I said, that was The Simpsons guy. And you said, yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was.
Or something like that. One of us said that. James Brooks is The Simpsons guy.
Oh.
James L. Brooks.
And Albert Brooks had nothing to do with The Simpsons.
No. And I think all my life I thought he did too.
And you even questioned. I was like, yeah, I think so.
And I don't think I thought differently. I think I was going, yeah, I guess I just never put two and two together. Totally different guy.
Well, at first you thought it was Mel Brooks. That's one of the things that didn't make it to the air.
That would have been a good fuck up. You should have just left that in.
So we took the time to find the right answer, and we found the wrong answer.
Yeah.
Well, that sounds like us.
Yeah, it does sound like us. Yeah. Spent about 3 minutes on the phone. Still got it wrong.
Gee, thanks a lot, Steve. Can't wait till you're here in person doing this live.
Oh, yeah. Steve will be visiting soon.
Yeah.
He's going to do a game. All three of us going to do a game in real life, not on the internet like we did the last game. We're going to try this in person. I'm going to have a whole set built. It's going to look like Jeopardy. Yeah. Going to get a host. I think Pat Sajak's not doing nothing.
He was at the Yankees game the other night.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know who he was rooting for, but the Dodgers won the World Series. So if he was a Yankees fan, tough shit, Pat.
He's just up there going, don't forget me. Why did I retire again? Do you know he retired?
Yeah.
Oh, and the other fuck-uppery, this one I caught on myself. Remember we were talking about the Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy movie?
Yeah, and you said 24 hours.
I called it 24 hours.
I know you did. I wasn't going to even call it out, but
48 hours.
48 hours and another 48 hours, the sequel.
Oh, shit. I forgot there was a sequel.
Yeah.
I never saw either of those.
And you weren't even thinking about that. I saw both of them, but you weren't even thinking about that movie. You were trying to think of Trading Places.
Yeah, I was all mixed up.
You were like, Trading Places with Nick Nolte. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? I think you even played the buzzer noise in there.
Well, 80s was a time of buddy movies. So I could have said Turner and Hooch. I could have said Tango and Cash. We're lucky I was in the ballpark.
You're not wrong about that, yes.
So those were our two fuck-upperies. And the mailbag came from Sister Michelle. Mail, motherfucker! We were talking about anthology movies.
Yes.
And we're like, there's got to be more. So Michelle wrote, you forgot an awesome movie that had segments of short stories based on a short story novel by Stephen King. You know what she's talking about?
The Stand?
Cat's Eye. Remember Cat's Eye, that movie Cat's Eye?
No.
I think Drew Barrymore was in it. There was a little like elf on the shelf that would run around, and he was fucking with a cat at one point. Anyway, she writes, the cat travels to get to his human to protect her from the evil troll. That was the little guy who ran around. Along the way, he stops at a hotel, the ledge, and I forget the other. So I guess
The cat. It's all through the cat's eye.
that's what it must be. I've never seen it.
Was each segment directed by somebody different, I wonder?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm going to actually check it out because this is a movie that escaped me that I've always had interest in, but just totally forgot.
Well, they clearly didn't kill anybody, so it really didn't make the cut.
And she got another one. Also, which movie had the Indian chief statue get revenge for the couple getting killed? Was that in Tales from the Crypt movie or the other one? No, that was Creepshow.
Creepshow.
We forgot
that was an
Creepshow.
anthology too. You're right.
And there was Creepshow 2, and I even think I saw going through the Tubi that there's like a Creepshow 3 straight to video Creepshow.
That doesn't sound good.
No, but I loved Creepshow 2.
Yeah.
That was one of the big ones for me. I can't believe I've totally forgotten Creepshow.
I even forgot it was an anthology.
Thanks for the ride, lady. Remember that skit?
Oh, yeah.
Ugh, God. That's when horror was fun
Yeah.
and ridiculous.
Those days are long gone.
I know.
I walked past 3 Terrifiers last night out trick-or-treat with my kids.
I saw one of those Terrifiers. I was like, all right, maybe they're going to throw back to the old days of 80s horror where it's, no, that was
3 of them now. It's like a Christmas one.
pure murder porn.
Straight up. Very graphic, very over-the-top gore.
What did we watch the other day? Oh, we were watching another movie the other day. Chainsaw Massacre 2, the Canon movie. Canon
And
Films.
that was one where the story was kind of like Chainsaw Massacre 1, but they had a bigger budget?
Bigger budget, but Canon got involved. And you know
Oh.
when those two from Canon get involved, the whole movie's going to look cheesy and corny.
Of course.
And it does, but that's also some of the charm. The first Chainsaw Massacre was that 16 millimeter film or whatever. It
Yeah.
looked real and gritty, and then suddenly it's 80s cinema, like totally bright and colorful and shot poorly and directed and edited poorly, and everything was just terrible about it. But I don't remember there being so much gore in it. Yeah, there's a lot of gore in it. So
Oh,
I
I
guess as a
didn't-
kid, I was more able to see it and parse it and forget about it. Now I see this gore, and I'm just like, too much. I'm getting sick.
Yeah, I didn't recall that at all.
Yeah, there's a whole middle section where they pulled the face off a guy. And then he gets back up and he's like, oh, I'm not dead yet. I'm like, oh, put the
Come
guy,
on.
the guy out of his misery. What the fuck? This is that murder porn shit that I hate.
Jesus
But
Christ.
I just didn't recognize it as a kid the way I recognize it now.
Wow. Yeah, I have no recollection of that at all.
Such a good movie, though. It really is. Well, we got the fuck upperies out of the way. We got the mailbag out of the way.
Are we ready for the main event?
I think we're ready for the main event.
You know anything about the 1855 Toronto circus riots?
I don't know anything about 1855.
Yeah, this is going back, and listeners may be thinking, who the fuck cares? And I kind of teased it last week. The old saying of those who forget their history are bound to repeat it. This is a cautionary tale of how things can go bad quickly. So let me set the scene for you. The year's 1855. As you can probably guess, the place is Toronto, Ontario, Canada.
Which is an amazing city, one of the cleanest cities I've ever been to. Everybody was super nice.
Yeah. Now, at the time, Toronto only had a population of about 40,000. It's a shadow of its current population of 2.6 million. But the city was growing very rapidly. This 1855 version of Toronto is much more like a pioneer town than it is the clean, friendly city that we're familiar with of present day, right? Lots of bars, lots of brothels. So
Oh, really?
this is a lot more like this is more like a, not mining, but more like a Wild West town, like you would think of in the American Wild West.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But because it's growing so quickly and there's people moving to it, the railroads are about 2 years in the future. It just brings a lot of commerce to the area. This thing's about to blow up real quick.
Well, that's how the old days were. Like, we live in a town, we always tell people we live in Reading, Pennsylvania. Reading from the Reading Railroad. We've
Sure.
talked about this, how that was on the Monopoly board. But that railroad was important because it took people into Philly and out of Philly, so people in this area could work in Philly.
Well, and before that, before the railroads took off, we had Union Canal came through here. So it was very much, cities grew up where commerce was, where transportation was.
Where transportation
And
was.
this is really not much different. And because it was a city on the rise, it attracted the attention of the S.B. Howe's Star Troop Menagerie and Circus. It was an American circus troupe that was traveling throughout Canada, bringing joy and festivities wherever they went.
So at Barnum and Bailey's, but not Barnum and Bailey.
Exactly. It was S.B. Howe. And his circus featured clowns, they had acrobats, they had exotic animals, they had big cats, they had giraffes, they had horses, they had equestrian riders, they had all sorts of three-ring entertainment, right? Classic, traveling around with carriages and setting up the big top and just drawing people from, usually setting up outside of town, like Big Top Pee-wee, setting up outside of town and bringing the townsfolk out to see the circus and get their money, and then kind of just traveling on to the next town and setting up and doing it again.
Sometimes I see old movies where the circus is moving through with a train. Like I think Indiana
Like
Jones.
Indiana Jones did it, and the original Dumbo.
Yeah, so maybe that's how this was done.
Very much so. So one summer evening in 1855, in fact, it was July 12th, 1855, the circus wrapped up its shows for the day, which left the clowns with a night off. So they decided they were going to enjoy a little bit of the nightlife that the town had to offer. I wonder if 12 of them crowded into a carriage and all went together.
I hope they were all in a clown car.
Yeah, this is about 30 years before the automobile was released. I wonder what goof they did before they had cars.
Yeah.
They all rode like one horse.
Oh, that would be great. How are 800 clowns dismounting this horse?
Well, anyway, they decided on one of the area's many brothels. And let me tell you, they chose the wrong one.
What's the right one?
Well, this particular brothel was the choice of the local volunteer firefighter brigade known as the Hook and Ladder Firefighting Company. This is a turf war.
Oh.
And this fire company, this fire brigade, much more like a Gangs of New York style fire brigade than like what we know of today as like volunteer fire departments. Like right here in your area, you have a volunteer fire department right up the road here. And, local people go and they fight fires. And, when the siren goes off, they drive to the firehouse, hop on and go fight a fire. These guys are much more likely to get into a fist fight with a rival fire company while the building just burns down behind them.
Really?
Oh, yeah. This is like, they're there to fight. And not only are they there to fight, sometimes they're there to loot and pillage because they've also been known to just like rob blind the people whose house is on fire.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm telling you, man, this is Wild West shit. You ever see the Gangs of New York?
No, I was going to ask you, can you explain a little more about that style versus what I know, but you kind of just did.
Well, yeah. In the movie The Gangs of New York, one of the fire companies shows up and there's one guy just carries a barrel and he just puts the barrel over top of the fire hydrant and sits on it because I guess the first fire company to put it out gets paid for putting the fire out. And he just got there first. He was the fastest one. He got there, put the barrel over top of the fire hydrant. And then the people showed up. They were like, well, we're here to hook up to the hoses. And they just beat the shit out of each other. Meanwhile, the factory just burnt to the fucking ground.
What? This is insane.
Yeah.
It's like the Anchorman Wars. Remember the...
Newsman, assemble! Yeah.
I never would have guessed that fire departments fought each other instead of helped each other.
Oh, no. No. And when the police would eventually show up to these straight up brawls, they would just join in the melee and start like beating the shit out of each other. They'd get their ass beat too.
Oh my God.
So this was a lawless land that we were living in Toronto, 1855.
Imagine somebody calls the police, they get into it, right? Call the ambulance, they get into it. Now everybody's just fucking getting into it with the firemen.
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. Well, this kind of sets the scene for where we are at this brothel. So going back to the clown's night off. Again, they were intruding on the turf of the Hook and Ladders,
but
right?
They didn't know?
They didn't know.
Okay.
Now, the events that sparked this riot are pretty unclear. Some say that a drunk clown got a little mouthy. Some say that the hat was knocked off of one of the firefighters, maybe by a clown. Some say that the clowns were trying to cut in line and get to the front of the line first so they can get the groove on. But one thing's for certain. All hell broke loose. And the clowns kicked some serious firefighter ass.
You're kidding.
The clowns beat the shit out of the firefighters. 2 firefighters were seriously injured and had to be like drug out of the brothel to safety as the rest of the Hook and Ladders retreated. So yeah, For the rest of the night, the clowns could drink and screw without any interruptions.
Wow, that's amazing. It must have been the killer clowns from outer space.
Until a not-so-secret social club known as the Orange Order was made up of all kinds of local elites. Now, this was a heavy, Protestant area, and basically the Orange Order's pastime was beating shit out of Catholics, but they made an exception every now and again. Now, all police and firefighters were members of this Orange Order, and this was like a real populist type thing where basically they were in place to ensure that all the good jobs went to other members of the Orange Order. They were also known as Orange Men, is something they were known as. So, yeah, so there's this local elite society that kind of pulls the strings. It's like basically what people talk about when they talk about the Illuminati.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I want to be part of this group. All I'm sitting here thinking is, shit, I wasn't born into that. That would have been fun.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Well, the brothel fight just so happened to occur July 12th, the same day as the Orange Order's big parade through Toronto. So there's a lot of the Orange Order brethren in town. Again, all the firefighters, all the police, members of this order. The following day, Friday the 13th, after the clowns beat the shit out of the firefighters, all the Orange Order members that were there for the parade started congregating around the SB House Star Troop Menagerie and Circus Big Tent, and trouble was a-brewing, and business was about to pick up.
Oh my God. Could you imagine everybody, the bearded woman, right? The snake man, the guy, everybody's just looking out and they're like, what's going on here?
So it started off with some stones being thrown by the Orange Order. And
what, throwing them at the tents?
Throwing them at the tents, throwing them at the animals, throwing them at the people. And it said that the carnies and the circus folk were able to kind of keep them at bay for quite a while. But it wasn't going to last forever. So
now let me jump in here. I do know that carnies and circus people back in the day were crazy motherfuckers.
I think they still are.
Rob Zombie talks about a story about when he was a kid. He would hang out at the circus because his parents were carnies. He's like, oh, I've seen people kill people. Like, they're pretty savage. So I got to think back then, they might have been even more savage.
Well, again, rocks were thrown. Firefighters used axes and pikes to attack carnies and carnival folk and, you name it. The big top tent was torn down and set ablaze.
Wow.
Clowns were beaten absolutely senseless.
They probably had like little swords made out of balloons. Like, this isn't working.
The mayor of Toronto actually had to intervene in person. And it's rumored that he actually stopped a firefighter from murdering a clown with an axe by basically grabbing the axe out of the firefighter's hand. The mayor actually called in the local militia. And after the militia came in, things started calming down. The circus gathered their shit and headed for the hills. We're getting the fuck out of here.
Ugh.
So after that, the aftermath of all this, the police department was really called into question. So the police did nothing throughout this entire riot except kind of sit back and watch the show. They just watched the insanity ensue. So 17 people were actually charged with rioting, but only one was convicted. The reason why there weren't more convictions, the police on the scene, quote, couldn't remember any of their fellow Orange Order brethren that were present during the riot. So I didn't see nothing.
Right.
Well, in the months and maybe even years following the circus riot, similar events occurred and cover-ups occurred. So it actually led to the entire Toronto police force being fired.
Oh, damn.
So they did a complete reform of the Toronto Police Department. And after vetting applicants, about half of the police that were fired actually got their jobs back. But the ousting of the Orange Order was underway, which basically led to the Toronto that we know today.
So if the clowns didn't start this bullshit, we'd have a very savage
Allegedly.
Toronto.
We don't know who started the bullshit.
Oh, my God. Fucking bozos in the mix.
I just want to see Shorty jumping up to the front of the line to get to the hooker first.
Fucking squirting them with the flowers they got on their lapels.
And that's the other thing. How do we know that they were clowns? Were they dressed up still as clowns with oil paint on and shit?
That was one of my two questions I was going to ask you.
Yeah.
Did they go to the whorehouse dressed in wigs and white paint? Oh, that would be just the best.
Yeah, big old fright wig,
And then
big,
the
big shoes.
Yeah. That quack when they walk. Oh my God. And then they beat the shit out of the fireman. That's the greatest.
I know, man.
My second question was going to be, where were the police? But you eventually got to that. Yeah. I mean, how long did this go down till the police finally showed up?
Yeah, and not to get political, but in a world where half the people are screaming defund the police and the other people are calling for police reform in this situation really did clean up Toronto. It is now the clean city that you and I talked about at the top of this story.
Yeah. So if you're in a city that needs police reform, send some clouds.
Send in
some
the clowns.
Damn it, I can't deliver the line. Send some clowns into the local whorehouse. Everything will work out just fine.
Send in the clowns.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I really went down a rabbit hole to find this story because it's not something they're teaching in the schools.
No, that one did not get into my textbook in public school.
So I'd have to say, in answer to the question, did you hear about this? Most people probably did not.
Oh, well, thank you for bringing something new. That's great.
You're quite welcome.
9 times out of 10, I listen to shows that are bringing something new, and I go, I know that.
9 times out of 10, I think you're bringing me something new. I'm like, yeah, no shit.
So you've done it. You brought something actually fresh.
I hope so.
I'm never going to forget that. I'm going to constantly think about like the Warriors, but clowns.
Warriors, come out to play.
A gang of clown killers.
And if you haven't, I highly recommend you watch Gangs of New York because it is a fantastic movie. Not just for the Firefighters scene. It's a very good movie across the board. Daniel Day-Lewis and Leonardo DiCaprio. Stunning performances.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Cameron Diaz is in
Diaz.
there. Yeah. She's in there.
I knew she was in that, but that's all I know.
Definitely worth the watch. Didn't fight any clowns, though. Well, that's all I got, man. What do you got for news?
All right, let's do the news. All right, well, I have a few stories here. Not long. I think I say it every episode. This is going to be a short one. They never fucking are.
I will believe it when I see it.
So the first thing that I got here is a graphic, which doesn't work really well when you're doing audio, but we're going to try it a different way. So Nielsen, you know what Nielsen ratings are?
Yeah.
Tell me.
It is the movie rating system that kind of, I guess it's all online now. When I was a kid, we had like a journal we had to keep of what we watched and when. That's kind of how they track families' viewing habits of television shows.
Now, you said movies, but you mean television.
Television. I'm sorry. It is television, not movies.
Right. As I got into marketing, Nielsen was around in my world, too, because they don't just do it for TV. They do it for all kinds of things.
The websites and everything?
Everything.
Wow.
Well, I don't really know how far they go. I shouldn't say. But this here is a new release that they put out from data that they've gathered. They finally got July 2024 data. All right. So we're in October 2024. So better than usual. Usually it takes like 3 years to get old data like this all compiled. So it's a snapshot of the different, how do I say it? Like classifications of media. All right. So we're talking about broadcast TV. We're talking about cable TV, and we're talking about streaming.
Like broadcast TV, like using rabbit ears to get in a signal, like network television?
Yeah.
And then cable is like the premium channels.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think the way that they're going to look at this is more like, even though nobody's using rabbit ears anymore, ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox.
You can get that basic cable without actually paying for a cable package.
Right. So
okay.
That's its own little bucket. And then cable, like you said, and then streaming. There's a fourth thing here, other. So we'll leave that aside. Of 100%, I just want to see how close you can get. What percent of people per July 2024's data were watching each one of these buckets? So broadcast TV, what would you give that? What percentage?
23%.
Not bad. 20.3.
Okay.
20.3 of the population is still into broadcast TV. How about cable TV?
Now, we're already down to...
Don't do the math in your head, you smart guy.
Okay, well, then I'm going to say that we're down to probably 46%.
26.7.
So only 6.4% more?
Yeah.
Wow. So then the rest, well, we'll see what other is.
Yeah, well, streaming is, what do you think?
Streaming, so we're already at 80 or 40%. I'm going to say that 57% streaming.
It's 41.4 with other being 11.6. I don't know what other is. It really, the article I had didn't break it down much, but it's probably
It's like DVDs and like personal video collections.
red boxes, like people that are still going out to get a red. I don't know. Gotta be.
VHS.
But 41% is streaming versus, and you can add 20 and 26 together, and that's everything else, essentially, with the exception of red boxes.
So streaming is outpacing both other options. Well, I'm going to take other out. We'll cut 11%. They're basically outpacing them by 100% each.
Well, it would be really, you're looking at 46 versus 41 if you take other out. So
it's even more than 50%.
Less than. Streaming is a little bit less than, but they're catching up.
You're right.
The point of this is really, holy crap, streaming really is getting big. It's catching up. But I kind of looked at it and said, streaming seems small because now I'm clearly don't know everybody in the world, but there must be pockets in this country of people that are just really still not unhooked. I assume everybody's unhooked at this point. I assume everybody is streaming everything.
No, I actually expected most people to still be hooked in just because it's the way it's been for so long.
Yeah. Well, I thought we were moving faster than that. So that was a little surprising to me. And that 11 point whatever 6 is
what's
of
that?
Other. Like, what is that?
I don't know. I can't even think. Now, here's the other thing, though. In those streaming numbers, like I will stream some network television shows, but I'm not watching it through network television. Like I will stream Seth Meyers' Closer Look on YouTube. I will stream other things. Like, so it's not like I'm not watching what network is putting out, but I'm sure as hell not a cable subscriber to watch it on cable.
Yeah, that's the weird thing about all of it. I mean, even movies would would show on TV. Well, they're movies, not TV shows. So I'm sure this data is pretty fuzzy because of all that kind of thing.
Right. But it is still what the network is choosing to air, whether they created it or not.
Yeah. Well, times are changing. I got another story.
And I think I know the answer to this, just to be clear. You've completely cut. You have no cable.
No cable.
Everything is just streaming.
Yeah.
Same for me.
Yeah. And I don't know why. I just assumed more people were like us.
Yeah.
So from the Hollywood Reporter talking about media habits changing, this article is called Howard Stern, how SiriusXM will survive after Stern.
I'm kind of surprised it's still around.
Me too. And I tell you that I still listen. It's hard to get through. I've told you that before.
Yeah.
But I kind of just want to ride it out. I know he's only got a couple of years left. Everything he talks about, it's rarely interesting anymore. The antics and things like that are really watered down. He's phoning it in. And it feels that way. And I've always wondered how much of an audience does he really have. I've heard rumors that he only has like 800,000 people listening anymore.
Well, outside of, what does he do, 3 hours a day?
3 hours, a couple days a month.
Oh, he's not even doing it like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday anymore?
He's rarely live.
So everything's Best of Stern at this point.
Everything's just reruns of the last couple of years.
Oh, man.
He doesn't run anything from the 90s like the stuff that we remember. The holy shit, he said that stuff. None of that will get aired.
Does he still have Howard 100 and Howard 101?
Yeah.
So both channels are still like playing like one's East Coast, one's West Coast feed?
Yeah. They are doing that, but they're doing different programming throughout here and there. He's got this like show like Sternthology. That's kind of like his best of. People will call in and be like, "Oh, play that safe sanitized bit from." Yeah. It's really something's phony about the whole show. Nobody's calling in trying to stir the pot. Nobody's ever like, "Dude, what happened to you?" He's just completely buffered from anybody creating any kind of controversy with him.
So aside from those two channels, what does Sirius offer that's not offered on Pandora or any other music station?
Well, let me read this.
Okay.
It says, a few years ago, audio platforms and media companies threw enormous amounts of money at creators to build their podcasting slates. Spotify, which spent more than $1 billion on its push, inked deals with the Obamas, the Sussexes. Who's the Sussexes?
I think Jenna watches the Sussex. It's like a Sussex family?
I don't know. And more.
Oh, you know who it is? Isn't the Sussexes fucking Prince
Middleton?
Harry and what's her fuck?
Yeah, I think it is. I didn't even think of that. In addition to bankrolling its biggest star, Joe Rogan. So that was
that's right. He went to Spotify, not to XM.
That was the first big move that I heard. Like, Spotify's buying Joe Rogan. Like, you're getting into the podcast game. I right away bought stock at Spotify because I'm like, one day this better play out. Now, after a content spend pullback, it's a different landscape. Kombat, in the telling of SiriusXM President and Chief Content Officer Scott Greenstein, has matured to the point where it's clear which players in the audio space can still write checks, namely SiriusXM, Spotify, Amazon's Wondery. Never heard of that.
Wondery actually picked up the Kelsey Brothers and also Freakonomics Radio that I listen to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And the last is iHeartMedia.
Yeah, that's still such a terrestrial radio thing.
So I guess I know them from terrestrial, but I know they were first on the internet. And I remember thinking, oh, wow, they're like the radio on the internet. And then I started to hear they were buying up local radio stations. Now when I hear iHeartMedia, I just think billboard advertising and
Well, I
local
think
radio
everything
stations.
that used to be like Clear Channel Radio became iHeartRadio, iHeartMedia, because Clear Channel did the billboards, like you're saying. They did that too. So I think Clear Channel either got bought out by or became iHeartMedia.
That would make a lot of sense. Okay. Well, it's interesting to me to hear that these are the four big players. Like, talk about how things have changed. First off, how SiriusXM is even still a company. That model came and went seemingly so fast. Like, everybody had to get it, and then everybody who wanted it had it, and then everybody got tired of it. I don't know anybody who still listens to Sirius or satellite radio. I guess they're the only satellite radio company.
I had it for about 5 or 6 years. I had it back in the day when you had to use your FM modulator in your window to basically transmit it to a dead FM station in your car.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, that was awful.
Yeah.
You'd just be driving down the street. You'd be like tuning in.
Pick up somebody else.
And you could pick up somebody. Sometimes you could pick up somebody. I used to, but I didn't have a subscription to satellite. If I was in like a rental or something, I'd drive by and put the usual channel on, which was like the lowest channel on the dial, like 88.2.
Yeah.
3. And that's where people would usually have that set. So if you drove by somebody's car, all of a sudden crackle, in would come Stern or something. And I'd just drive next to them so I could steal their satellite radio broadcast.
Remember the FCC shut them down? They actually made SiriusXM pay to hardwire the units into somebody's car because the FM transmitter was too powerful. There was some kind of FCC ruling.
No, I don't remember.
Yeah, I got a letter that said, like, you have to go to a local garage and they'll wire it into your car. And I was like, I'm done with this anyway.
See, I wasn't. I bought them all. Oh, well, you got to get the next new receiver called the Stiletto. I was like, all right, I'll buy the Stiletto.
Nah, I was gone before any of that happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I stuck with it because of Stern.
Baba Booey.
Well, I can't believe they're still around, to your point.
He just had, and I know Trump's doing this too. Trump was just on Joe Rogan. Stern had
Kamala Harris was on.
Biden, and Kamala. I'm like, is he really that big to have them on? And did they remember that he did Butt Bongo Fiesta and some of the naughty things?
Naughty.
Well, he is still considered to be like the pushing the envelope kind of media person.
He's not at all. There's nothing interesting about
but
what he
people
says
that
to
wouldn't
anybody.
know that, if you say the word Howard Stern, it has that history of that shocking shock jock kind of bullshit.
There's a clear moment in that show where you could tell that he sat down with everybody. He actually got a new CEO or a COO.
You were saying there's somebody behind the there's an orange order pulling the strings over there at the Stern show.
Yeah, it's a woman. I forget her name, but everything just changed. Like who reported to who changed. All sorts of things were talked about, eventually leaking out. But it was essentially him saying, it's time to reposition my brand. I want to be known as the interviewer. I want to be known as the person. And that's why that book came out full of interviews.
Well, and we talked before. I never thought he was that great of an interviewer because he can't not talk about himself.
It's crazy. He cannot talk. It's like every question he asks is meant for him to
set
eventually
himself up.
Yeah.
It's annoying.
Remember how he used to make fun of Imus for being just a nothing broadcaster? In his
That's him.
He's now Imus. And I'm listening going, you say nothing. I have no reason to tune in. I'm not even entertained. But I still turn that fucking show on.
Damn. So what is the answer? Like, who can Sirius XM get after Stern's gone? Does it give names as like examples of who can compete against the Joe Rogans and them?
I think there was some in there. I didn't even know half of them.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of them. There's so many shows that are in our universe that I don't know anything about that are at the top of our charts. But where do you look to see that?
Yeah.
I don't even know.
I don't know.
If Spotify doesn't recommend a podcast to me, I don't know about it.
And this Wondery thing just started really popping up a lot lately where I'm just like, man, they're like really gathering a portfolio of shows, like varied different interests. But like clearly Wondery is like a new publishing house that puts these things out.
How long do you think they'll be? Because Stern Show is a podcast now. He doesn't know it, but it's a podcast now. How
Yeah.
long will it be until nobody needs to go to a radio station?
Oh, I don't think anybody needs to go to a radio.
Well, there's still a radio industry. There's still a satellite dish pushing, FM and AM frequencies out. What's going to be the first city and when that doesn't have a radio station in it?
Is it a satellite or is it just like antennas?
I'm talking about antennas.
I always picture like the big antennas you drive past on the way to Philly. They're just pushing out like.
I said satellite?
Yeah, you said satellite. I was like, really? Like,
Sorry.
I don't think so.
No.
I'd be willing to bet that most people listening to terrestrial radio now are probably listening on their computers. But actually, now that I think about that, Will on 1980s Now talked about, I guess, all cars were still coming with radios, and not everybody's plugging in, listening to podcasts like we are. So I think he said somewhere around like 83% of people are still listening to terrestrial radio, mainly while driving their cars. I don't have the exact numbers. I'd have to, but it was a much higher percentage of people listening to radio in their cars than what I ever would have guessed.
Well, that sounds like it's profitable still.
I guess.
Maybe we're not as far along as I think we are.
Maybe.
ChatGPT just put out a search engine the other day. I'm like, oh my God, Google's dead, But maybe we're not. Maybe we're not that far along. Yeah, I figured nobody's listening to the radio. Barely anybody's watching Channel 6, Channel 3, or Channel 10. I guess we don't even call it that anymore. CBS, ABC, or NBC. Because I'm assuming everybody's done what I did. I'm as big a narcissist as Stern.
Oh, brother.
Baba Booey.
Well, it's official. The Sonyverse stinks.
Boo! You stink!
You're talking about the new Venom?
Talk about the new Venom. The Venom Last Dance reviews secure 100% rotten score. You know what that is for Rotten Tomatoes?
Anything below 60.
Yep, across the entire Spideyverse. Nothing is working over at Sony.
Except for Across the Spider-Verse with Miles Morales. Those are still doing well.
That's true. I forget that's them. But that's not part of this whole Venom,
It's not.
Madam
It's
Web.
not. We did mailbag earlier, but I forgot. We got another mailbag. We got a text message from Brother Cockroach. And he was talking about how superhero fatigue and all that bullshit. And I wrote back to him, I'm not willing to buy that superhero fatigue. Like, superheroes aren't to blame for these bad ratings. This is just piss poor storytelling across the board. Sony does not know what to do. Anything that Sony has done with their franchises, and you mentioned them, Madam Web, the two Venoms, or the three Venoms now, they've all been dog shit. Mobius and Kraven the Hunter, they keep pushing back. Like, they're shit stories. It still comes back to bad stories and them just trying to cash in, thinking they can ride this wave of superheroes. The superheroes aren't the reason these movies are doing bad. It's bad stories that they're putting these superheroes in. That's why these movies are doing bad. I will die on that mountain.
I got to correct myself before Brother Steve writes in and says, no, it's not Mobius, it's Morbius.
Morbius, yeah.
Mobius was the guy from Loki.
Yeah.
No, I remember that text. I saw it. I didn't respond to it, but I totally agree. I don't think we're burned out on superheroes. We're burned out on bad movies that feature superheroes.
You know what? I just finished up last night, 2 nights ago, the Agatha All Along series. And it ended strong. It was a good series.
Yeah, I saw the breakdown.
It was good storytelling. Was it superheroes? I didn't view it that way, but it was good characters in a good story, and it really went full circle. I really enjoyed it.
It's hard to say there's superhero fatigue when Deadpool and Wolverine just did the numbers it
Fact. That's perfect. Perfect example.
did. Yeah.
And that wasn't even a good story. That was just good marketing, maybe.
And as far as I can tell, there is a decade of more superhero movies to come. So I hope he's wrong. I hope with good storytelling, we can get back to where we were the first 10 years of MCU.
And really, to your point, Deadpool Wolverine, that's the one example that kind of bucks this whole trend of stories. If stories were better, they'd be good, because that was not a good story.
But that offered something we wanted, something we loved, something we enjoyed. Even if it's a bad story, it's still good content. Maybe that's what we should be saying.
Is this show still going short? Because I can fix that right now, speaking of bad stories.
No.
I saw Beetlejuice. And how I didn't come hot out of the cannon right off the get-go from this. I fucking hated everything about Beetlejuice.
Hated.
That was dog shit. They didn't even follow their own fucking world-building rules.
No, they did not.
I don't care if I spoil because I don't want anybody to even watch this. They shouldn't get any movie for putting that on any kind of film or digital or whatever the fuck they do with cameras these days. That wasn't worth the time or money spent to produce that goddamn thing. The Maitlands don't make the movie, and they just kind of shrug it off by saying, oh, they found a loophole and they found themselves into the afterlife.
I know.
Great. Why didn't they fucking give that claymation? They gave the diddler Jeffrey Jones a whole fucking claymation death scene where he got bit by a shark.
Yeah.
They showed his face on the tombstone. They showed his headless body walking around the afterlife. Why that guy that should have been fucking canceled? I'm not a huge fan of canceling, but if you plead no contest to diddling kids, you shouldn't be put into another fucking movie ever again. And then you just shrug off the fucking Maitlands by saying, oh, they found a loophole, and that's all we're going to say about him. Fucking dog shit. Number 2, Lydia's husband that died by being eaten by piranhas after falling off of a boat or something. Why the fuck was he working at the afterlife as a public service job? Because the only people that work public service jobs, as established in Beetlejuice 1, are people that committed suicide in real life.
Oh.
Did he kill himself? Is that what we're getting at? Or did they just completely break their own world-building rules?
No, he killed himself. He was the first guy to kill himself with piranha.
That's what I'm saying. This was such dog shit. I mean, the opening credits were the only thing that even felt similar to the first Beetlejuice. Nothing else was in the same flavor. Nothing else was in the same world. If that boyfriend fucking died by breaking his neck in his treehouse, then anytime he leaves a treehouse, he should be in a fucking sandworm-infested Saturn, not going back into the house and back out to the treehouse. That's not how the fucking world that you built works. I don't understand anything that they did in this fucking movie. You had 35 years to write a good story. Your first fucking joke, and here you go, I'll give this to you right now. Your first joke is Beetlejuice has been sitting there in the waiting room with his number for 35 years, and you finally call his number, and that's how we pick up with Beetlejuice.
Yeah, you should have wrote the thing.
And let me get into Beetlejuice. Michael Keaton, phone that the fuck in. He's not even a good Beetlejuice himself right now. No energy. Delivered the lines horribly.
Yeah.
Like, it was just fucking bad across the board. I couldn't find one redeeming thing about it.
I got to jump in on this because this is what I've been thinking about. The movie is different because it's got a lot of script, a lot of story, a lot of character development. Does Beetlejuice need any of that? Like,
No.
he works as just a superficial thing. So why did Michael Keaton suck as Beetlejuice in this? It might have been because they made Beetlejuice suck in this thing.
They did.
By
They
making him
did.
talk more. And like, now you see he's got buddies and you see, it's like,
Stupid.
yeah.
The wife was there. Danny DeVito was maybe the one shining moment in the entire thing. He was in it for 3 minutes.
Yeah. Was it just a cameo for cameo reasons?
Willem Dafoe's character, you get a great actor, you piss it away by being some actor that plays a detective who really is a detective. None of it makes any fucking sense.
And then there were just more storylines than, and we say, now I feel like we sound like hypocrites because we're like, we need better stories, better stories. They gave us more stories and now we're saying we want less stories.
More stories isn't better stories.
All the storylines in this thing, I just didn't give a shit about. I'd rather just see old school 1980s Beetlejuice, art. That's what it was to me. Like, it was different. It was a different kind of movie for its time. And now the movie is exactly the same as every other narrative movie out there.
There was no conflict that I cared about. And the way they resolved the conflicts I already didn't care about, I didn't care about the resolution.
I didn't watch the more than like 3 or 4 episodes of that Wednesday show.
It was good. It was, in fact, it was the main storyline that Jenna Ortega had as Lydia Dietz's daughter in this movie.
Yeah. Well, it felt like the same show.
It was. It was identical. She falls in love with a guy who's not what he seems.
If Beetlejuice showed up as a character on this Wednesday show, now you can tell what the tone of the movie is.
And I do have to take a step back. The only other redeeming thing about this movie is Catherine O'Hara.
See, I didn't like her.
You didn't like her?
I didn't like her character.
She was as quirky and as dumb as she was in the first one. She stayed true to it.
I wanted less of her, just like she was in the first movie. We didn't know all that much. That's why these guys were interesting, because you're like, I don't know all these things about them. Once you start to get to know these characters, you start to go, oh, okay, she believes this and this and this. She's an asshole. And
She was almost too aloof in the first one as a mother to even care or have insight as to how she failed Lydia as a mother.
The other one was just a piece of art about surrealism. It wasn't story driven. That's my problem. This tried to be story driven and it just doesn't fit.
I'm sorry for this hardcore detour. I didn't even expect to talk about this night. When you said bad stories, I was just like, holy fuck, how did I forget about this?
Yeah.
It was bad.
I forgot it. You said to me when I told you, hey, I saw it. You're like, how was it? I'm like, I forgot it.
I instantly forgot it.
Instantly forgot it.
And they did do claymation. Great. They did stop motion. Great. It was phoned in. This was a cash grab, man.
Well, at the end, I remember going, oh, well, of course it was a sandworm.
Of course. It was, fucking dumb.
No creativity in it at all. Well, it's another Ghostbusters Frozen Empire.
Human sacrifice, dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria.
True story. When we got done watching it, which was about midnight on Tuesday, we turned it off and I put on YouTube, and YouTube ads are showing all kinds of political ads, political campaign ads right now. And I was like, oh, Jesus Christ, now this. Jenna actually said, I'd rather watch this than what we just watched. She'd rather watch political commercials than watch what we paid $20 to stream. That's a fucking statement.
Yeah, those commercials are free.
And she wasn't wrong.
Oh, yeah. Thanks for bringing that up. I forgot all about that.
And again, if I spoiled something for you, I didn't, because you shouldn't ever want to watch this. Supporting diddlers. You got to be kidding.
He did have a lot of airtime for being a guy who's dead. He's not even alive. In real life, I think he's dead, isn't he?
No, he's in jail.
Is he still in jail?
He pled
I heard he
no
died.
contest to every single conviction he had. Relations with a 14-year-old, I believe.
I thought I heard he died.
No.
You 100% sure?
Look it up.
Is Jeffrey Jones dead? 78 years old. And if he made money from that too, wouldn't that drive you nuts?
Yeah. Using his likeness, how could he not make money?
I'm assuming there's a movie, right, that's like, we're keeping your likeness, we just not using you.
I know you said last week that Amy had mentioned that, well, the character's not a diddler, but yeah, that's no need to go back to that.
No,
well.
you don't even want to see the guy's face ever again.
I don't. And
Whether it's a CGI face or not, you don't want to see it.
Yeah, and meanwhile, Gina Davis and Alec Baldwin are just, they found a loophole. They're in the afterlife now. Give me a fucking claymation of that, you asshole.
You know who else I didn't like? I didn't like Lydia. I thought Lydia was an idiot.
It was so dumb. They gave her a drug problem that never got resolved. They gave her a mandatory husband that was a dickbag that never got resolved. There's so much. 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag is what that movie was.
And I think I read that he's not going to make a third Beetlejuice.
Well, we agree on one thing.
Yeah, don't do it.
Tim, you had 35 years. You done fucked up.
It's kind of like with musicians. You know, when you get older, like Motley Crue, like now they'll go play, Las Vegas and be like, fuck it. We got to make some money. Does Tim Burton do the same? Like, I don't care about being an artistic, genius anymore. I need to buy a new house in Santa Monica.
So artistic integrity goes out the window?
Does it? Maybe. I don't know.
Is that why new kids are playing their new residency out there?
Yeah. Well, think they had artistic integrity to start with? Speaking of musicians with artistic integrity, you know this song? All right, how about this song? How about this picture of feet?
Oh, I know this story. This is the one that's married to David Harbour, who is a musician, but she makes more money doing OnlyFans feet pics than she does with her own music.
You got the David Harbour wrong. That's the guy from Stranger Things.
I thought that's who it was.
Maybe it is. I don't know. Is she married to David Harbour? Well, Lily Allen was like a pop singer from the 90s, from 2000s. Yeah, you got the story right. From Billboard, Lily Allen says she earns more money from selling feet pictures than Spotify streams. All right, this is amazing. A few months after joining OnlyFans to sell photos of her feet, the 39-year-old singer-songwriter said on X that her side business has been more lucrative than the streams she earns on one of the world's biggest music platforms. She says, imagine being an artist and having nearly 8 million monthly listeners on Spotify, but earning more money from having 1,000 people subscribe to pictures of your feet. Unbelievable.
I thought for sure in that story it said David Harbour was her husband.
Maybe I didn't get that far because I was just too shocked, and I copied and pasted the first paragraph. And
so here's how do you spin this? Is this talk about how lucrative the world of foot fetish is, or is this about how piss poor the world of streaming is? Or both can be true.
Is there really that big a world? Everybody talks about like, I should sell feet on OnlyFans as a joke. I guess they're really buying them. Oh my God.
Hey, man, I'm not here to yuck somebody else's yum, but apparently there's money in it.
Holy shit. Growing up, I didn't know anybody who cared about feet. Being an old man, I don't know anybody who cares about feet. But apparently there's a whole cohort of people that love fucking feet.
Lily Allen married David Harbour in 2020.
Really? Okay.
According to Wikipedia. If it's wrong, blame Wikipedia.
Could be a different David Harbour.
I don't know. It seems very matter of fact.
Really?
Should I click on the link?
Yeah, I got to know. I think she's beautiful. And he looks like 20 miles of bad road.
No, it's definitely that David Harbour.
Huh. How about it? David married Lily.
Every pot has a lid, my friend.
Yeah. Well, good for David. He's cool. And she must have great feet.
I don't know anything about this woman.
No.
An English singer, songwriter, actress, and author. Music career began in 2005 when she was signed to Regal Recordings.
Yeah. Yeah, pop singer.
Yeah, not my world, man.
Well, this last story is your world, so maybe you can help me understand this one a little bit.
I'll do my best.
Are you following the Wicked poster controversy?
I am.
Okay, before we go into it, Wicked is a musical.
Wicked is a musical that's been on Broadway for years. And the cover poster of the Wicked show has Glenda the Good Witch whispering into the ear of the Wicked Witch of the West, as we know her from The Wizard of Oz.
So it's a Wizard of Oz show.
Yes.
I assumed it, but
It's a Wizard of Oz show told from the viewpoint of the witches. So, in the poster, it has the green Wicked Witch of the West with her hat pulled way down, like over her eyes. All you can see is like
red lipstick.
bright red lips. You can't see her eyes. You can't see really any features of her face except for her mouth. And it shows Glenda the Good Witch, who in this movie is played by Ariana Grande, whispering a secret into the ear of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Right. So the hand of the Glenda, that's the name, Glenda?
Glenda the Good Witch, yes.
Like it's literally covering her entire face.
Well, no, the shadow of her witch's hat is really what's covering the face of the Wicked Witch.
Sorry, I meant of Glenda. So Glenda's face is covered up too in the classic picture.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Now, the controversy, they came out, I guess Disney? Who's putting this movie out?
Disney.
Disney's putting this movie out, and the poster that they showed is an homage to that Broadway poster, but it actually shows both actresses' faces.
Right.
And huge fans of the musical photoshopped it so you can't see the facial images of the Wicked Witch of the West.
Right.
To which she flipped shit.
Yeah. Okay. So that's where we're going here.
Okay.
So the person who said, hey, wouldn't it be great to take this movie poster that clearly shows the two women's faces, pay homage to the traditional, the classical picture, and the woman who did this just did it with Photoshop. Now it's going around. The Wicked poster controversy is being conflated with AI when it's good old-fashioned photos. Everybody thinks AI did this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So right now it's beat up on AI images time because, you know, there's reason to at times. So right away, everybody thinks that this is what this is. That's how I found out about this story.
Oh, I didn't realize that this was being blamed on AI.
She writes, this is the wildest, most offensive thing I have seen. Equal to that awful AI of us fighting, equal to people posing the question, is your asterisk, asterisk, asterisk green? I don't know what she's talking. This is the wildest, most offensive thing she's ever seen. This is the wildest, most offensive thing she's ever seen. This, Scott.
Now, to go 2 steps forward into the future from when the story was written, she has come out and said, yeah, I probably should have called some friends rather than retaliated via my keyboard.
She writes, none of this is funny. None of it is cute. It degrades me. It degrades us. She says, she continues, the original poster is an illustration. I am a real-life human being who chose to look right down the barrel of the camera to you, the viewer, because without words, we communicate with our eyes. Our poster is an homage, not an imitation. To edit my face and hide my eyes is to erase me. And that is just deeply hurtful. Dude, I read this and I went, does she have no other stress in her life? Like, this really fucking bothered her.
Yeah.
And I don't relate to anybody saying anything like this. Now, if you're saying that there's more political stuff to it, now it starts to make sense. If you're going to say, yeah, she's just a fucking complete narcissist, then this is hilarious.
Yeah, Cynthia Erivo has since come out saying that she probably should have reached out to friends and talked through this with friends rather than retaliate via her keyboard and kind of fed the trolls, I guess. But I don't know that it was done in a trolling way so much as it was, we love Wicked, we want the Wicked that we know. Which, okay, if they removed you from it and you felt that they were erasing you from the role that you're playing and the work you did for a photo shoot for this, okay.
Yeah.
Get upset, I guess. But yeah, I think there's better ways to work through this than why piss off the fan base? Fucking Disney. What? Another actress poking the fan base before the fucking movie comes out.
I think it's Disney. I actually don't have that in my notes.
I think it is.
But they did the same thing to, who's the girl? The other one? The Glenda?
Ariana Grande.
Yeah, well, I told you in the original poster,
it's covering her face.
Yeah, so in this new one that they put out, now you can see her full face because she's a star. They want to put her on the cover. So the Photoshopper who did this to the witch did it to the other witch too.
Yeah.
The hand was moved up to look like. So it wasn't just one person who they edited the face of. They edited the face of two people.
The Wicked Broadway show, the main actress in that got so famous, it was two, is Kristen Chenoweth, that most people know from, I believe, Dancing with the Stars.
Kristen Chenoweth. Wasn't that Curb Your Enthusiasm? Was she in that?
Yeah.
Kristen Chenoweth. I don't know how I know that name, but
Cheryl Hines is who you're thinking of.
Cheryl Hines. Yeah, I don't know Kristen Chenoweth.
And the other one is Idina Menzel, or Adele Dazeem, as John Travolta famously called her. She was the voice of Elsa in the Frozen series.
Oh, right. John mispronounced her name at the awards.
The unbelievable Adele Dazeem. You fucking dummy.
That was good. That was a good impression.
Like, wow.
Vinny Barbarino.
Vinny Barbarino.
Well, I'm glad you were able to add some context to this because I just read it and I went, oh my God, another actor who thinks they're the center of the planet.
Yeah.
And I'm still not sure. I got to digest it, but it was just so innocent. You want to go see it?
No.
Go see the Wicked movie, me and you.
It'll be streaming in no time.
Yeah, it might be out for all I know.
No, not yet. Not yet. Target's doing a huge marketing push on this right now.
You know why I don't know about any of these things? Because I don't watch late night TV anymore. That's how I would always learn about new movies and who was in them. I don't think anybody's watching late night TV anymore.
I don't watch it late night. I watch Seth Meyers and Stephen Colbert and sometimes Jimmy Fallon, like on YouTube the next day. Very occasionally, Jimmy Kimmel. All depends who the guest is. And honestly, most times I'm not watching the interviews. Although I did watch, Stephen Colbert had on Tom Hanks and Robin Wright this past week.
Yeah.
Robin Wright's weird as shit, man.
Really?
She's a weird interview. She's a weird bird.
Well, most of those famous people are just weirdos in Hollywood who just...
As we're learning day by day.
They weren't special. We all thought they were.
Oh, man. Is that the end of the news?
That's the end of the news.
I didn't know you didn't crinkle your papers this week.
Well, let me fix that.
Well, what did we hear this week? We heard about the 1855 circus riots of Toronto. We heard that Beetlejuice is absolute dog shit, in my opinion. If you enjoyed it, I don't know who harmed you in your life, but you need to get better taste in movies.
He wants you to stop listening right now.
We're not.
He doesn't want you to tell a friend about us.
We can't be friends. That says volumes about you as a character. But I digress. Thanks for listening. Again, hopefully, if any main topic lived up to it, stupid, yet strangely satisfying.
Strangely satisfying.
So thanks a lot. Tell a friend, and we'll talk to you next week.